I'm Corbett Wall with USDA Livestock and Grain Market News. Here with your weekly feeder and stocker cattle market summary for the week ending October the 5th, where your runs, especially in the sale barns, are predominantly calves, and the calf prices were very uneven, mostly lower, but huge price trends in both directions across the country. Early in the week, there's no doubt calves were a lot lower, from week to $10 lower across most of your early week sales, except for Oklahoma City. They had a lighter run this week. It had some rain in the area over the weekend, didn't have hardly any yearlings at all, and they call their calves $2 to $4 higher. But for the most part across the country, your calves were lower, especially early in the week. But late in the week, we did have a rebound in demand. I assume a lot of it was as news started traveling that the calves were so much lower on Monday and Tuesday that some of the buyers started coming in and picking that up later in the week. But you definitely saw an increase in the calf demand late in the week. Now, your true yearling cattle, there's just not enough of them to test hardly anywhere. Up in the northern plains, up in the Dakotas, a place like that, they sell those backgrounded, coming out of backgrounding lots for the most part. Really heavy feeders, weighing 900 into the over 1,000-pound range there. And anywhere that yearlings were tested, they were mostly steady to weak, following kind of right in with the board there in last week's fed cattle trade. But not a big movement, and really hard to pin down your yearling trends. There's just not many true yearlings left. Most of them have all been sold. But we're in the fall now. We're in the calf buying mode. Your calf buyers still have a lot of needs to fill. Your calf outlets are not full by any extent to the imagination. Most of your buyers that have been buying right along, they just wanted to back off a little bit, both last week and this week. They'd like to clean out those sick pens a little bit, just give them a little bit of time to finish straightening up what they have right now, and maybe they have a place to kick those out and empty up some pen space to bring in some new arrivals of newly purchased calves. But there's definitely a lot of calf buying yet to be done. There's several things that are holding these guys back. Still getting these big temperature swings. But this weekend, we're supposed to have frost across much of the country. There's frost warnings as far south as Interstate 40. That's going to cover a lot, most all of your calf backgrounding, your big high volume preconditioned outfits right there. And if we get that frost, and it's going to stunt your grass pastures, your grass will be done, but it will kill a lot of those airborne illnesses that are making these calves so sick right now. It'll make the weather more consistently cool, which is better for the cattle and better for the guys taking care of the cattle. But that is going to help a whole lot. Also, we had a lot of big rains there last week in much of your southern plains there where the winter wheat's planted, and those guys are planting that stuff day and night. They're in high gear on sowing this wheat, and they get that in, and then they'll start buying some calves, and then if they do get some sunshiny days, it won't be long before that wheat will be up and they'll be ready to turn those out. But they finally got enough moisture in a lot of those places to plant that wheat. There's some spots that didn't get any rain. They're still waiting at the edge of the field, waiting for a little rain so they can get their wheat in. Then you go up north in the Corn Belt, and they're still in the middle of harvest. They're waiting on their beans to turn. They're trying to get that out. And those guys in the Corn Belt, they don't want to talk about cattle when there's farming to be done. But they're going to be winding that up here real quick. They've got a lot of silage in the northern plains. They've got a lot of silage in the southern plains, but there's tons of silage packed down, ready to be fed. Looks like we're going to have a good stand of wheat and a lot of wheat pasture out there. So a lot of calf business to be done, and a lot of that calf demand is still kind of held back. But in the next 2 to 3 weeks, should see that calf demand turn right as we expect the receipts to increase. So we'll see at what level supply and demand come together right there. But we expect the numbers of calves to be coming in. Most of your sale barns and your auction receipts peak right in here in late October up to November. So if they're going to have a lot of calves in the sale barns, and most of your calves do come to the sale, because especially in places where you have smaller producers, those calves need to be sized, they need to be sexed, need to be sorted. And that's why we have sale barns. Your big producers out west have sold predominantly on the video, and a lot of those calves are sold. Some of them didn't like the price, and they may be bringing them into those western sale barns. But there's still a lot of uncertainty about how big this calf run is going to be. What percent of the calves have been sold, how big the receipts are going to be, if they're going to be more spread out than usual. Usually in October, we have weeks that supply outweighs demand of these calves, especially your unweaned calves. They are harder to sell, but there's guys that buy them, and then they're going to buy them a little bit back of the weaned calves, and a lot of your cow-calf producers didn't have the feed to background their own calves and get them weaned, so there's going to be a lot of unweaned calves. But when the weather straightens out, and if you got something to feed them, you can still make that work. But Phillips, South Dakota this week, they had a good calf run up there. Top sales up there had a string of 100 head of fancy steers, weighed $4.90 at $1.90, and the heifers, 107 of them, weighed $4.35 at $1.81. Fed cattle market was $1 higher this week at $1.24, steadied a little higher on a dress basis, $1.90, $1.92. Mainstream media seems to be talking about the feed shortage is going to bring about a shortage of bacon down the road. So not going to have bacon. They say probably price will take care of that. 3 months, 3 weeks, and 3 days you can have more bacon. But so far nobody said anything about a shortage of beef. That maybe we might leak that and could have a shortage of beef, but that might help the market a little bit. We don't have any regional weighted averages this week. Recording this just a little bit early, and those are not quite out, but you can find them on your weekly feeder and stocker cattle market summary on a PDF file. And check all that out at our website at marketnews.usda.gov. And from a regional market news office in St. Joe, Missouri, we'll talk to you next week.